Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more overly sarcastic productions, and this time back with a miscellaneous myth. I feel like it's been a while since Red has done a miscellaneous myth. This time, Loki nearly kills everybody. Again. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love if you join the Discord and follow me over at Twitch, and please do go check out the gaming channel here on YouTube. With all that said, let's go hear another story of Loki being Loki, really. Yeah.
Here's a fun existential question to ponder at 11 a.m. on a Friday. How do you kill a god? At first glance,
Let me just go back into my mind palace and remember the last time I did. It was Tuesday, precisely 2:07 in the afternoon. March of 1322. Now, of course, this is in the height of Catholicism and whatnot. But still, those pesky gods exist outside, right in their own little pantheons among their own believers. It was with string cheese. It's quite an ordeal. I remember. Traumatizing. Anyways.
this might sound like an impossible thought experiment. Gods and immortality conceptually go hand in hand most of the time. Modern fantasy or urban fantasy stories will often world-build a paradigm where gods are utterly unkillable so long as they are believed in, and experience a slow diminishment into non-existence as their worship dries up. But that's very overcomplicated compared to the source material. Mythological gods
Or they just die not from old age.
die all the time all around the world. The problem is it just doesn't usually stick. A god who gets shot with mistletoe or ripped into pieces or dies in childbirth usually just gets some prophecy of resurrection or posts up in the local underworld and becomes a god of death. It's not like they stop being a god just because somebody murdered them. This does vary, and it's an easy mistake to lump together all mythologies into the same overarching paradigm as if they have anything in common beyond having at some point in history been a living religion somewhere in the world. In some pantheons, age and death seem pretty alien to the gods. The Greek gods don't really worry about either most of the time, and even getting ripped to pieces or eaten is just a minor inconvenience equated to imprisonment. Contrastingly, the Egyptian gods do have myths where they die, but very few where they stay dead. Most interestingly, they even have stories about gods getting old, usually Ra becoming aged and unfit for the throne to justify why the current pharaoh's favorite furry deserves a turn on the sunboat. But if there's one pantheon of gods that's widely known to be more killable than most, it's the Norse. Now, the Norse pantheon is also distinguished by the fact that pretty much every text we have about it was written after the Norse religion had been replaced by Christianity, and the Norse gods were no longer being actively worshipped. One of the most prominent sources for Norse mythology, and the source for today's myth, was Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda, written in Iceland in the early 1200s BCE, with a very intentional twist of nerfing the Norse gods. The prologue puts a lot of effort into coming up with an intricate...
Hold on, we're gonna read it. Near the middle of the world was constructed that building and dwelling which has been the most splendid ever, which was called Troy. We call the land there Turkey. This place was built much larger than others and with greater skill in many respects, using the wealth and resources available there. 12 kingdoms were there, and one high king, and many countries were subject to each kingdom. In the city there were
with an intricate explanation for how the supposed Norse...
In the city there were 12 chief languages. The 12 rulers of the kingdoms were superior to other people who have lived in the world in all human qualities.
gods were all actually great lords and ladies from Trojan War Troy, who the superstitious people...
The name of one king was Munon or Manon. He was married to the daughter of the high king Priam. She was called Troan. They had a son who was called Tror. We call him Thor. He was brought up in Thrace by a duke whose name was Loricus. When he was 10, he inherited his father's weapons. He was as beautiful to look at when he came out among other people as when ivory is inlaid in oak. Ooh! That's a good, metaphor? It's not a simile. Well, no, it is a simile. Because as. I did not major in English. I majored in history. We didn't talk about grammar. His hair is more beautiful than gold. Yeah, that's a simple kind of...
people of Western Europe foolishly took for gods, telling tall tales of mythologized exploits of these very normal humans.
When he was 12, he had reached his full strength. Then he lifted from the ground 10 bearskins all at once, and then he killed his foster father Loricus and his wife Laura or Glora and took possession of the realm of Thrace. We call this Thrudheim. Then he traveled through many countries and explored all quarters of the world and defeated unaided all berserks and giants, and one of them...
human beings, Pope tested, Jesus
greatest dragons and many wild animals.
Disapproved. Thankfully, this is not a bit that Snorri commits to when it comes to the actual retelling of the myths in question, which are pretty clear on the gods being gods, but it does mean that almost every story we have from the Norse pantheon was being documented with the benefit of hindsight, and in many cases, an explicit effort on the part of the writer to humanize the gods. And it is interesting that one of the most famous myths in Norse mythology is how the gods all know that they are destined to perish horribly in the inescapable fires of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. So evidence suggests that even before Christianization, the Norse gods were definitely not immortal. In fact, as we'll learn today, it turns out they're not even naturally ageless. So today let's talk about the time Loki nearly ruined everything. No, not that time. Not the big one either. Nearly is the operative word. Twilight is still a long ways off. It's only the tea time of the gods. Our story begins with Odin, Loki, and a dubiously relevant other guy trekking through the
Sir, not appearing in this film.
wilderness. In the interest of not starving to death, they snag a random ox and murder it into a healthy snack by way of an improvised oven. But when they check on the cooking progress, the meat is stubborn.
I don't think it's gonna make it to medium rare. Loki better not be messing with me again.
Stubbornly unaffected by the flames. After confirming that it isn't a one-time thermodynamic fluke, it becomes clear that something is magically preventing their dinner from cooking. And that something turns out to be an eagle posted up on a nearby tree that
Sorry, Almighty Allfather. You only get to eat if you brought enough to share. Sounds fair. In what realm?
demands a share of the meat before it'll let them roast it to perfection. The godly trio agree and quickly regret it when
Hey now. You're an all-star. Get your game on. Go. And DMCA.
the eagle grabs all the best parts of the cow and horfs them down post-haste. Loki in particular is extra mad and whacks the errant raptor with a
Yeah, I'd like a large pepperoni. Send that to Valhalla. It's across the road from that one place, one thing.
stick, which would probably work wonders on any ordinary bird, but goes very badly with this magic one, because the stick gets stuck and the eagle flies off, dragging Loki behind it and steering him face first into every appealingly sharp rock or
If you're worried they're cursed, I don't need to. Okay, Odin.
tree along the way. When Loki's bravado has been sufficiently rock-smacked out of him, the eagle quietly gives him the terms of his release. It'll stop knocking him around, but only
Bring me the goddess Idun and all her magical apples.
on the condition that on a day of the eagle's choosing, Loki will lure the goddess Idun out
Ooh, I remember you collect the apples of Idun in God of War 2018 and I think in Ragnarok. I know at least in 2018 I think you collect the apples to make your health go up.
of the safe confines of Asgard, along with her magical apples that are responsible for the Aesir's eternal youth. And Loki agrees. The eagle releases him and flies
Take me, Mac, and I'll give you the last slice. I'm not hungry.
away, and the trio wrap up their journey and return home. And when the appointed day
It's the darndest thing. I guess they really do grow on trees. Fascinating.
rolls around, Loki lures Idun out of Asgard with the claim that he's found apples growing in the wild that look just like her magic ones, and she should definitely bring them
I don't know, Loki. I think these might just be normal apples. Take a really close look.
all with her to check.
He isn't
While she
panicking at
investigates,
all.
the eagle swoops down and abducts her, although
Oh! No!
by now Loki has realized its true identity. The eagle is nothing but a magical transformation taken on by the powerful Jotun Thjatsi. Without Idun or her apples, the
Did wielding Mjolnir always hurt my back? Yep. No more gray hairs back here. Two?
Aesir's immortality
Y'all, last week or something, I saw, I think it was a gray hair. I think it was on this side. No, I think it was on this side. I saw it in the mirror after I was done with my shower one morning, and I don't know where it went, but I swear it was not this color. I'm dying.
turns out to be highly conditional, and they all start aging rather alarmingly. The Aesir convene a meeting to try and figure out what the hell is happening and where Idun has vanished off to, and they quickly put together that the last time anyone saw her, she was leaving Asgard with Loki.
Oh,
well,
God
that'd
damn it.
do it. Loki is dragged before the Parliament of
Loki, buddy, if you don't fix this, you're gonna wish I let you die of old age.
gods and threatened with an assortment of creatively horrible fates until he's sufficiently terrified to agree to save the world again. He borrows Freya's feather cloak,
I
takes
must say, you age very gracefully. Don't push it. Yes, ma'am.
the form of a falcon, and flies over to Jotunheim for the rematch of the century that he desperately does not want to do. Lucky for Loki, Thjatsi
Loki, I've got a few complaints. Get in line, sister.
Isn't home, and Ethan is relatively unguarded, so he hastily transforms her and the precious apples of youth into a travel-sized nut and flies away as hard as he can.
Ah!
Regrettably, it's still not fast
Who could have done this?
enough, as when Thiazi comes home
I wonder what that says. I don't know the runes.
from a hard day's fishing and finds his favorite hostage missing in action, he does what everybody in
Ah, good one, Yazi. This time I better make sure to break all his bones.
the Norse myths do, and figures Loki did it. He goes back into eagle mode and tears off after Loki, kicking up a huge storm in his wake.
Dude, I
Meanwhile,
love
in
this art.
Asgard, the geriatric deities see, or
What do you think, Heimdall? I think I need to ask the doors for a stronger glasses prescription.
more realistically here, Loki panicking on the horizon, and set about figuring out how to save him from his terrifying pursuer. What they settle on is building
Oh.
a really big
That
fire
ought to
behind
do
the
it.
walls of Asgard. With the superior mobility of a falcon, Loki drops to safety as soon as he clears the wall, but Thiazi's giant eagle form suffers the curse of all three of Newton's laws, and the momentum plows him headfirst into the flames. The Aesir all dogpile on while he's distracted by being on fire, and a glorious victory is won the only way the Norse gods know how. Gratuitous, heavy metal album cover levels of bloodshed. When the feathers finish flying, Ethan is restored to a place among the gods. And thanks to her apples, everybody gets to be young and hot again, so the Aesir can really look and feel
Hell
their
yeah.
best when they all die horribly in, like, a week?
We still on for checking weapons at Baldur next week? Of course. He's been looking forward to it all month.
Maybe 2 if Loki needs a nap after that. Can't perish gloriously in an apocalyptic conflagration if you ain't cute. Help me if
Damn
you
straight.
can.
Know the subtle difference. Eden apples grant you knowledge of morality and get you kicked out of paradise. Heathen apples grant you eternal youth and only put you at mild risk of kidnapping. I'd rather not have the risk of kidnapping. But also, I wouldn't want to get kicked out of a home. But also, kidnapping. Well, kidnapping can make me feel very special. Anyways, that was Miscellaneous Myth. Loki nearly kills everybody again. I'm wondering, there probably will be a third one of these where it'll try to be titled Again. This was a fun, nice short one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the video. Peace.